Okay, so, oh my God, I have been really looking forward to this one. I'm not going to lie, probably because this podcast topic is close to my heart and I am going to be quite outspoken on this one tonight, hence the name of the podcast channel. But let's just get straight into what it's going to be about. So tonight's podcast is all about social media in respect of romantic relationships, and we're going to discuss tonight the sort of the do's, the don'ts, the unwritten rules, and how this is sort of affecting people's lives. And I'm super grateful to have our guests on tonight. So we have got, and I will go around the room, starting with Codie. Who is a local entrepreneur. So she runs 2 businesses. We've also got the wonderful Ross Dewar in here tonight, who is a professional sports coach. And we've got Jonny in the house, who is also a local entrepreneur and a gym goer. So for you guys that haven't listened to the podcast before, I like to bring in a mixture of professional coaches, business owners from within the fitness industry, but also gym goers. That way we get an opportunity to share and promote each other's businesses, but also we get a really nice round 360-degree view of people from different backgrounds, lots of different thoughts. But the most important part here is that I only invite people onto this show who I know are going to be real, going to be raw, going to be authentic, and they're going to tell you how it is. And that's what we like. So, Codie, do you want to just give us a quick intro as to who you are and what's going on with you?
Okay, so I'm Codie and I own a couple of businesses, well, co-own with my husband. We've got a food prep company and a gym. So in regards to the topic tonight, I'd say that we definitely see a lot of this going around in the gym environment. So I can tell you some stories.
Oh, God. Wow. Okay, I'm excited to hear what's been going on. Ross.
So yeah, I'm Ross Dewar. I'm a cricket coach, S&C. So probably not many of you have come across me because not many people enjoy cricket. But yeah, I've done it for 20 odd years and I've seen it change a hell of a lot. But also doing PT as well. And I think the whole social media world is almost a minefield. I don't think I'd be on it if I didn't run a business. So yeah, there's plenty to talk about here.
Cool. And Jonny, go for it.
Hi, my name's Jonny Edwards. I am a local gym goer. So yeah, when Codie said there's a lot goes around, because I know most of the goss on that, but I will keep that stump for now. Yeah, I'm a local business owner in sales and windows. Yeah, single dad, 3 kids.
That's really good. It gives us some context, so we know a little bit of background about you guys, and it just shows I'm not just doing this with other coaches. It's about involving people from different backgrounds, like I say. Right, okay, so social media. Like Ross said, his business, my business depends on it, and it can be a bit of a minefield. Quite tricky, can't it, sometimes, I think, to separate social media world from your sort of business life, but more importantly from your personal life and relationships. And although social media has so many positives, I think you'll probably agree with me, guys, that it does have the potential to wreak havoc on a relationship. Are we in agreement there?
Oh, 100%.
I've had my fair share of issues, which I'm sure we will kind of come on to at some point. But jealousy, conflict, hurt feelings, negative comparisons, etc. The list goes on. And I'm quite old-fashioned myself, so I'm quite old school, and I think I've been referred to as sort of an old soul trapped in a modern world at times. And I think, personally, I have been affected by it. But let's go around the room and let's just start the discussion, and we'll see kind of what your thoughts are on this and how it's affected you guys in your lives, because I think that is probably what people will want to hear, because that is where people are going to resonate and hopefully take some learning or maybe even some comfort from this. So social media, Codie, what is your kind of your viewpoint when it comes to sort of the do's and don'ts of social media? And I think let's start this discussion off in terms of, you know, say like your other half and like sort of like adding people in and connecting with them. Let's use Instagram as an example, you know, and like liking other people's pictures and all that sort of thing. So what are your thoughts on that?
I think people make it very complicated. And in my opinion, I think it's quite simple. A lot of it comes down to respect. And when you're in a relationship, you've got to respect the other person's feelings, whether it's something that you're doing because of them or because you feel that you should do it or shouldn't do it just for them. You've got to take a step back sometimes and think about why you're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're liking someone else's pictures, it's fine, you know, but if there's an intent there, you've got to ask yourself what that intent is. And I think it just comes down to really knowing why you're doing what you're doing, the behaviours that you're following, why, what they're going to lead to. Yeah. And if there's no harm in what you're doing, then there's no harm in liking someone's picture. Mm-hmm. But also, you've also got to think then on the other side, you know, would you be happy sharing all the things that you are doing on social media with the other half? Would they be happy knowing what you're doing? Yeah,
absolutely. About transparency and respect and trust, isn't it, really? What are your feelings, Ross, just on sort of like a surface level when it comes to sort of, you know, the interaction with the opposite sex, and yeah, just give us your thoughts.
I think one of the words that Codie said there was bang on, intent. You know, I think it's about intent and interpretation as well, because your sort of interpretation of things might be very different to someone else's.
Yeah.
And I think especially in the field we're in, you have to almost think twice about a lot of stuff, even about a very simple message reaching out and maybe helping someone. You know, we're in the same business group, and when you do talk to the opposite sex and you might be trying to genuinely help each other out, I don't know how other people feel, but I sometimes think, Jesus Christ, is this going to come across as me being creepy or sliding into DMs or stuff when you're not, you know, you're just like,
be Ross.
Yeah.
You're like 40-year-old bloke just trying to help someone else out who's doing the same thing as you, and you're like, is this going to be interpreted somewhere different, you know? So I think in interpretation, the big words there.
Yeah, absolutely. Jonny, what are your thoughts before we get into the nitty-gritty?
Me personally, I think if you're liking people's pictures on Instagram, you're showing an interest in them. So say you've got, I don't know, a really nice girl in a bikini, yeah? But say you've got a missus as well, right? You're not in the sports industry, say you're just me. You're going to like that picture. To me, that's like a cheeky wink, isn't it? That's like a silent wink that no one else sees but you two. Now, this is just, I'm just putting this out there, right? From a man's point of view who's single. Good. Mm-hmm. So that's a cheeky wink between you two. Now, you know that if you put 3 winks on their likes, there's an interest there, isn't there?
Well, this was going to be my question, actually. So do you guys think, so if you're in a romantic relationship, I think, again, like it does come down to individual relationships, doesn't it, and rules, but what are your feelings on your significant other sort of liking other people's, okay, let's use the example of semi-naked photos that could be sort of perceived as being, you know, sexually provocative, you know?
I mean, come on, right,
listen, are you okay with
you've got, say someone's in a competition, yeah, and that's fair enough. They're doing it because it's physique, all the rest of it. When you've got, you know, Laura in bathroom, you know, just had a shower, got out, towel round there, bosh, you know what I mean?
Exactly who you're talking about.
Oh,
what I'm saying is, that was just a name I pulled out the air. But what I'm saying is, if you're going to give it 3 likes, then you know what I mean. If I had a partner and she was giving Big John, you know, a few likes when he just got out the shower, I'd be like, I'm not a jealous guy, but I'd be like, hang on a minute, that's a bit disrespectful. Because I'm quite old school,
think it
You know,
depends
both good values.
of the picture or video.
The
I
context.
think,
Blurry
if
lines.
you're giving someone a few likes and it's a repeated like constantly and it's not on a professional level, then yeah, I think it can ruin relationships, because all it takes is another message to follow on from that, and all of a sudden you're speaking to each other.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So that's just me.
Yeah.
That is spot on though, isn't it? Because that's the difference between someone who you know and they've worked for something like in a competition, so they're doing a bodybuilding thing, and they're in there, guys in the speedos, the girls in a bikini, and you like that because you almost said, well done, you know, you've worked your ass off.
Yeah, exactly. A well done like.
Yeah, a well done
Not
like.
can you drop your towel like, is it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Even though they're in basically the same sort of clothes, it is that concept.
You might get to double tap it, it'll happen, but you know.
Brilliant. Okay. So I should probably share my thoughts as well, rather than just ask you guys. I
Have
do.
you ever dropped a towel?
Hey, what? Who's dropped the towel?
That towel to be dropped.
Listen, if I'm single and I see a towel that's been dropped, then I may be very inclined to tap that photo. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, I'm a red-blooded, hot-blooded female, whatever. However, if I'm in a relationship, I'm very, and I think again, it's funny, isn't it? Because it's not necessarily about social media. I feel like it's about your own sort of values, your own morals, your own expectations from a relationship. And I think whether or not you kind of, what your idea of respect is, and we're all different, aren't we? We've all got different levels of that. But me personally, if you're repeatedly liking other females' pictures, you know, when they're kind of, I don't know, like barely clothed, it's not going to go down well with me.
No, it's not, is it?
It's not going to go
with
down. I'm just going to say it. You're going to get drilled to the wall and you're going to be getting questions off me, you know, because like you said before, for me, that is interaction and that is intent. Like, and even if it isn't, you've got to think about, okay, so you as a man or a female, you might not really mean to show intent, and you might be innocently like liking that person's photo, but what message is that sending to the other person? And even if there's nothing going to come from it, it's that respect, isn't it? I think it's such a minefield and there's so many blurred lines, but it's, yeah, let's get on to the DMing and let's get on to the, my favorite is sending heart eyes and flames. Now, oh my. Is anybody else's inbox full of flames like mine? Hey,
No, unfortunately not.
I'm joking. It's not. It really isn't. It isn't. But you know, do you think that is okay? You know, when you're in a relationship, are you okay about like flaming other people's pictures? Do you think that's okay? You know,
that's not okay, is it? Come on. I've got quite a few things in my inbox that I'm not going to disclose, but I know people are single, you know. But if I was flaming someone's picture and I was in a relationship, then that's just as good as saying, hey, fancy a shag?
Yeah.
That's what it is, isn't it? Or hearting things. Actually, my mum hearts things on my post, so yeah, take the heart out. Not doing that.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's just gone to a different level, isn't it? You know,
yeah, flames and penis emojis and all them lot, all the peeps, you know, that's when someone's coming on to you without saying it.
I do think as well, like with a lot of these social media platforms, they are actually almost, they're playing towards the people that want to be, well, they're playing towards infidelity.
Yeah,
of course they are. That's why the fire emoji.
I mean, look at Snapchat, you know, the whole sort of ethos of disappearing photos is so you can send a dick pic. Like, come on, you know, it's so that you can play games and not get caught out. Let's be honest.
Snapchat is the biggest cheating tool going. It's got to be.
You know, I mean, all these things like, you know, turning on disappearing messages and all that. It's just
the thing about Snapchat. If you meet a girl with a high score binner,
With a what? You see, I don't use Snapchat. What is all this? This is new to me.
The more you use Snapchat, the higher your score goes.
Okay. Right.
So, you know, I'm in me lows. I'm all right, mate. But if you meet someone and they've got a very high Snapchat score, that means half the town's seen a tits.
Red flag. Okay. Right. Okay. Exit.
Or
Yeah.
you can say red flag, yeah.
Oh God. Okay. Oh, brilliant. Right. Okay. So thinking like about your own experiences then. So are there any situations that you guys have been in where, you know, it has caused particular issues and what happened? Like, obviously you don't need to go into like great detail of telling us the name, age and location of the person that, you know, this has happened with, but is there any examples that you want to share that, you know, that are not okay?
With me, no, I've been single 5 years, so I'm all right. I still missed that stage of things going on.
So if you were to get into a serious relationship now and you found someone that it got quite serious and you loved and cherished them, and what would be okay and what wouldn't be okay when it comes to social media? Because I think the game has changed now, hasn't it? In that, you know, I remember when I was dating when I was 21, God almighty, that is a long time ago. But we'd only just got Facebook, you know, we'd only just got phones where you could actually, see detail on images and, all that jazz. And it's like, everything seemed so simple back then. Everything seemed so
it was.
awesome. Yeah. And so much more, there was so much more depth to relationships, I found, and there was so much less bullshit and so much less like, having to sort of think about all these things in like, all this background noise really. So I guess, what would your sort of like rules or
I think with me personally, I've thought about this and I thought if I was to enter a serious relationship, then what I would do, I would cut my social media right down. As in, I probably wouldn't have Instagram anymore, but the only thing I post is my children and the gym. You won't see my business on there. You won't see what I get up to in my love life. You won't see any of that.
Yeah.
So I only post a certain content. But like you said, Codie hit the nail on the head before. It's trust in a relationship. It's respect. Now, that's all well and good having that, but Miss Hollywood comes along and you're going for a bad patch and she's in your DMs. Not saying I would do that, but most weak people would. Then you're going to cause a bit of trouble, aren't you? So I think in a relationship, I'd cut the social media down so you can spend more time on the person rather than flicking through your phone likes and seeing what's going on.
Yeah, I think that's another thing actually. It's not just about like people's sort of crossing boundaries in that sense and sort of infidelity and things like that. It's also the amount of attention and time that our phones take away from us these days. If you think back to like the old days, like i.e. when we were all 20, it's those were the days where you were focused on each other, weren't you?
That's the time when attention goes on that person.
Yeah.
When you've got 20 million women out there on the phone in towels or whatever, bikinis, then sometimes temptation, which is there, can be too much for some people. So if you cut it down and you concentrate on the person you're with, I think you'll have a better relationship personally.
I've got a different angle to look at it as well. So when I met my husband, I'm not very prolific on social media. I was Facebook. I was 28. I was mid-20s when Facebook came about. So I was growing up without all social media, without phones and everything. So it was never really a big part of my growing up. And then when it did come about, it wasn't really for me. I'm quite quiet. Like, don't really need to put everything on social media. But when I met Dan, when we first got together, he's the complete opposite. He posts everything. And when we first got together, he came to me and said, are we okay? I kind of feel like you're embarrassed of me because you don't post anything.
Ah, yes, there's
people to know you have a boyfriend. And it's like, no, it's not like that at all. If you look through my feed, you can see that I probably post like once every 6 months. So it's nothing. So then you have to work through that, because then it's obviously you don't want them to feel insecure by not posting anything, but you don't want to also push yourself out your own comfort zone by putting all your personal stuff on there when you're not comfortable with it.
Yeah,
So
I hear that.
I mean,
I've got best friends. I mean, you know what us women are like. I don't know if you're the same, Codie, but I've got podcast after podcast on my WhatsApp from some of my best friends. You know, we all talk about, Jesus, I've been ghosted again. Jesus, not again. Like, where are all the good men? You know, like, it's constant. I'm like, oh Christ. And oh wow, like, honestly, I'm not on any dating apps these days. I'm telling you, I don't think I could cope. Can't cope. But, you know, like I remember one of them saying to me, she was like, am I ugly? You know, what is wrong with me? And I'm like, what? Where's this come from? She's like, well, my partner never posts pictures of me on his social media, and I feel like he's trying to keep me a secret. And it's like, oh, there's all these issues, isn't there, that comes with it. And I think it's something that you have to talk about when you get together, isn't it?
Yeah, I had that. Yeah. My partner, who's just turned my wife.
Congratulations, by the way. Oh my
God. Literally, she said to me at one point, all my friends say they go on your profile, it looks like you're single still. And I'm like, that's why, but I just keep things private. For me, my Instagram is all business. My Facebook, I hardly post on. If I do, it'd been about my dog or something like that. For me, the private life is your private life. Mm-hmm. So everything I do on social media, 99% is business. And I like to keep the separation because, you know, in cricket, you know, I'm not getting people DMing flames and stuff like that.
Oh, that was a really hot bat there, Ross.
So yeah, it's
balls, Ross.
Hot ball.
Exactly. So yeah, it's a little bit different.
I'll pass it.
They like me googlies. So yeah, it was like I had to keep it separate. But when she said that, I was like, I had to take her feelings into it. So I was like, okay, well, I'll do a little bit more, you know, and post a picture of us together or something like that. But I'd experienced a few issues in the past with a couple of stalkers and things like that. So I didn't want my personal life on show for any like ill-gotten feedback or something like that, because I've been through quite a bit of shit. So yeah, for me, I like keeping it separate. I still don't really post about my private life. Obviously got married and my wife's posting loads of pictures and I had to post a couple. But I like keeping it to myself in knowing that. But like I said, because she wanted to feel like she was a part of it. So I took her feelings into account and put some on.
Yeah, that's what you've got to do. You've got to find that balance, haven't you? And I think it's really important when you get into a relationship, or even if a new app comes out and you both got it, you both still got to, no matter how long you've been together, you both still got to have those unwritten rules where it's just, you've got to know where the land lies and what you feel comfortable with. And the easiest way to do that is to have a conversation.
Yeah.
You see, I've been there myself where it's tricky, isn't it? Because I've kind of had the conversation and it's fallen on deaf ears. But I think that's not really a social media issue, is it? I think that is
respect.
You're just not
being respected,
or you're perhaps just not compatible and you've got different kind of relationship ideals and rules. But again, I think that comes down to, this is an entirely different topic, that comes down to you sort of being open from the start, doesn't it? About, you know, your expectations, what your values are.
Down to morals and values at the end of the day, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I find
what you believe in. I think Ross nailed it on the head there. You know, he keeps his private life, because what people do is people like to ruin what you've got. That's a human reaction. They see you with a pretty girl, you know what I mean? They want to DM or do whatever, or you're doing better than someone, and you know, to keep it business, if you're in a relationship, I think is a man's prerogative to do.
Yeah.
I just do. To flaunt it everywhere is an insecurity thing of look at me, look at what I've got. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Any man, if had a good woman, would not hide her. I don't mean that. I mean keep his, you know, his thing separate.
Yeah, you just don't want, because there is so many nutters out there and so many like jealous people. You know, if you can run your business, if anything's going well,
people don't like to see people do well. That's a fact. I've learned that a lot in business. They just don't want, people like to keep you here. That's why entrepreneurs learn that, and they do it on their own.
Yeah.
But like I say, as much as you can have women in DMs and all the rest of it or what have you, you can also get nutters coming through as well. It's a two-way street, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
So you do well to hide it.
Yeah, know about that. Yeah, a few nutters now again. Yeah.
Lucy, why don't you talk about that then? Yeah, I mean, because it must be different, I think, for a female, especially in the fitness industry, in competitions and things like that. You must experience more shit than us.
Yeah. So probably not as much as what you might think. But yeah, you do get it. You do get it. There are some creeps, and there are some perverts. And from time to time, like, you know, I've had to block people. I remember when I was actually in a relationship and there was this guy who was so blatant that he was coming onto my photos and telling me, you know, oh my God, you look amazing. Like, you're so sexy, like blah, blah, blah. And for me, that was like, that's disrespectful because you can quite clearly see from my profile that I'm in a relationship. And for me, when I'm with someone, I want to make it clear to the world that I'm with them. I'm not about, and that's not because, like, you know, I completely understand you guys and where you're coming from and keeping things separate. And we're all different like that. But I think because of my position and because of my sort of, my job and in the fitness industry, there is an element where sometimes I will, as part of my marketing strategy, put pictures out there, which maybe are a little bit more risque. I like to think that I'm not at the top end of the scale, and I purposely, you know, make sure that I don't have my nipples on show and things like that. But sometimes I will get people coming into the DMs or coming on, you know, commenting on pictures. But I think that is like, it's so disrespectful. And you know, this guy was just hell-bent to the point where I said to my partner at the time, I was like, do you want to just tell him to like give it a rest? Like, I'm totally okay with you doing that. I would actually want you to do that. Like, do that. And he was worried about, I don't want to say anything on your public profile because it doesn't look great for business. And it was just a bit of a weird situation. And, you know, you can block people and then they do weird things like create other accounts and then they come back for more. And it is that thing where you're on social media, you're accessible, whether you like it or not, you know, you're accessible. And yeah, you do get the odd people, but I just think the majority of the time people behave and that they are respectful, but you do get creeps, you do get nutters. And I think how I handle it, you know, I'm not in a relationship at the moment, but in the past when I have been in a relationship, I'm very respectful. And I always think about how would I feel if it was, you know, it was the other way around. And I think if you're with someone who isn't in fitness, who isn't in the same industry as you, then it can also get a bit tricky. But I personally, I'm very kind of black and white when it comes to the do's and don'ts with social media, but just in general. And it's like, I always say, if you wouldn't do it in person, don't do it on social media.
Yeah. I think we all know what's right and wrong.
We do.
We all know. It just depends whether you want to, whether you want to.
Yeah, we do know. And I think, like, going back to before about kind of having that conversation with someone, I've been burnt myself. I'm not ashamed to say it. I've been called a psycho. I've been called all sorts of horrible names under the sun for expressing my thoughts and feelings about appropriate behaviour and what I feel is disrespectful when it comes to, you know, interacting and engaging with, you know, other people on social media. And I'm not stupid. I know kind of what is okay and what is kind of crossing that line. And, you know, I think it's important that moving forwards, it's something that unfortunately is going to have to be spoken about at the beginning of the relationship and say, yeah, I'm going to have to talk about social media because these things have happened in the past and I don't think that's okay, you know.
But do you think it's an age thing as well? See, I'm 43. And so, like we spoke about 20 years ago, we didn't have it, you know, and so I think it came in when I was 26, Facebook. I remember getting it around then. So before then, obviously dating was very different. You'd actually speak to people. Yeah. Now, if you're 25, it's very different. They've been on it since they were 10. And it's almost, that's their life. They don't know the other side of it. So they're pretty used to messaging 3, 4, 5 different people at the same time. Yeah. So I think it could be a bit trickier for the younger ones.
I agree with that.
I've got a 16-year-old daughter and she's just about to leave school and she's getting boys messaging her all the time. And I mean, all the time, but they've got absolutely no chat about them whatsoever. They're literally just sending emojis and just hoping that, which they're probably doing to about 20 other girls at the same time, just to try and get reaction. And she shows me some
An emoji. It's probably the worst thing ever invented, that, isn't it?
What
The
emoji?
If you said emoji.
They send the aubergine. I hope they don't.
I've never been sent one of them, so I'm all right.
No, I have.
Imagine.
It's not as bad as you think. It's really not.
The thing is going back to dating, like Ross said then, going back to dating when, you're in your 20s and you used to go up and actually talk to people. That was the best way because 1, you can work out if you vibe. 2, if you get on, if you work everything out from interaction with a person. And to go out, when you were younger, you tried to get 5 numbers or whatever, because that's what you do when you're single, isn't it? And now you can talk to 20 people online with an emoji. Do you know what I mean? And then you get an interaction. So it's like dating has been filtered away.
Yeah, and I know Codie and Ross, I know you guys are married, and I know Jonny won't mind me saying you are still single, aren't you, as of the 24th of May? You still single, Jonny? Yeah?
Yeah, I'm still single. I chose to be.
Right, yeah. Well, so am I. But kind of, I'm not going to lie, like getting involved now and kind of the whole sort of the idea of people speaking to lots of different people because of social media, being that sort of messaging platform as well, it's quite scary. And I think another thing as well that we've seen a lot of is the sort of concept of ghosting. And again, just because like people have got access, I just don't get it. Again, I don't get it.
Fucking rude.
Exactly. It comes down to manners, doesn't it? It's just simple, basic manners and respect and decorum. And it's like, mate, you haven't got any. Like, if you're going to just disappear, like.
What does that say about a person, though, if they can do that?
It's just crazy. I know this is a whole other topic. We could probably do a podcast on ghosting and dating in 2023. I'll see you on there for that one, Jonny. Not
I haven't ghosted anybody.
Yeah. So guys, so what would your sort of rules be to live by? Your sort of advice for anybody with social media, going into a relationship these days? Codie, what would your sort of line of advice be to people?
Don't be scared to talk to your partner about things. If there's something's bothering you and you've seen them say maybe like pictures, just ask them, because they can only tell you the truth or lie. And then you'll know yourself then whether something's more to it or not. And then, if you're getting into a new relationship, just talk about your boundaries and what you feel comfortable with. And, especially if you've had past trauma and stuff, it's worth mentioning that to them so that they know not to do that again, or to have that done to you again. And it's just respect. I mean, we all know what the weather lines are, and we just need to make sure that we disassociate it just because it's on a social platform to think that it's okay.
Yeah, I've had that actually in a discussion. It's but it's not. They're not real though. Well, they are real. They are real people.
The attention's still there.
But the intention's there. If you can put a heart, a fire emoji, or an aubergine, whatever, then you're still wanting to interact with that person within that manner. An emoji means something. Yeah. So, you might as well say, "Hi, here's my dick."
I think, like for me, like a bit of a sort of turning point for me is when you kind of see your partner who's, 40-odd-year-old man, and you see his name all over all the 20-odd-year-old half-dressed females.
Yeah.
That for me was a turning point. I'm not going to lie. So, yeah, it's like you say, what's right and what's wrong. And I just call bullshit when people say like, but it's not real. It's like, well, they're real people. Like, what are you actually trying to tell them by, interacting?
Well, liking other people's pictures within that manner as well as a reflection on yourself, doesn't it? You think, why is he liking that picture of that 20-year-old girl who looks absolutely amazing, but I'm a bit out of shape, but I'm a mum. It can reflect on them and make them feel like shit.
Yeah,
it can do. Yeah. It's it's a tricky topic. Ross, what are your kind of thoughts and your sort of advice for people in 2023 with social media?
I think Codie hit it on there, like have a chat and be respectful. So like I said, for me, I don't like posting anything personal on there, but if it would upset my wife now that I didn't post something that's important to her, I'm going to listen to it. In the end, I might not do it, but I'm going to listen to it and just to be open. You know, if she comes to me with something that says, "What's that? Why have you like that?" If you've got no good excuse, then you're struggling. You know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
With my version of this is, if you're single, go have fun. Send your emojis, do what you got to do.
Send your emojis,
live your life. But if you are in a relationship, you know, when you have got morals and values, then cut your social media down and don't be liking other girls' pictures and all that, unless it's in a professional manner, because being old school, you know, it's a bit like cheating in a way to me. I wouldn't like it done to me, and I wouldn't like to do it to someone I was with. So to cut it and call it what it is, you're liking other girls' pictures, there's something in it. There always is. Because you wouldn't like an old man with a hunchback and a walking stick. You know what I mean? You're not going to start hearting his pictures and sending him fire emojis, are you? No, because you don't fancy the guy.
That's it. And I think sometimes, if you've been perhaps single for a long period of time, you know, I mean, I have heard that one as well, you know, like, oh, I've been single for ages, you know, and I just got so used to liking people's pictures. Not sure though. Not sure.
That's not gonna...
I was already following them when we got together. Okay then. But yeah, I think like for me, I would definitely, like, going forwards, I'd have to have that conversation with someone. And I think, like you said, Codie, don't be afraid to have that conversation. Like, you know, sometimes people can be made to feel like they're wrong for kind of feeling a certain way. But again, it doesn't really matter that it's social media. I think what you wouldn't do in real life, you shouldn't do on social media. You know, like
messaging. To work out there, would you like it done to you?
Exactly. And I always think
if you would like it done to you, don't heart it.
No, exactly. I always think that. I just think if it's not something that you wouldn't say to that person in the shop or in the gym, you definitely shouldn't be saying it, you know, just because it's on your phone and you think, oh no, well, no one can see me saying it. It's like, well, yeah.
So it's what you post, not just like a bit. What are you posting that could be misinterpreted? Yeah, you know. So it's that side of things as well, because you know people can put something out with a meaning behind it and then say, oh no, I didn't mean that. Well, it's fucking obvious. You know what you're doing.
Yeah.
If you're showing ass and tits on Instagram or Facebook and people are liking it, it's not to show off your fucking new bikini, I can tell you. Attention.
You know what? No, and this is where, again, like really
But if it's in a professional manner, sorry, but if it's professional on stage, yes.
Do you know what though? For years when I was in a relationship, I would never post. I'm not saying this is right or wrong. I'm just giving you guys like what I've learned, but I was probably a little bit too black and white, and it was actually kind of detrimental to my business. But when I was in a relationship, I didn't post anything which was provocative. I wouldn't post pictures like photo shoot pictures because I was almost like, oh my God, that's really disrespectful to my partner. And actually, I was probably a little bit too like overthinking it, because ultimately I wouldn't have been posting them for anything other than professional and for getting other women to go, do you know what? She looks great after having a baby, or, you know, she looks great. I want to look like her too. And actually I've learned now in my industry that I do need to scatter pictures like that occasionally, because I tell you what, I get so many leads.
You're wanting someone to look like you. That's your selling point. You see, abs are hard to get. So if they're easy to get, everyone would have them, but they're not. So the unique selling point there is you've got, you know, you, Codie, when you get in shape, you've got great figures. Now, when you post that on stage or whichever manner you're doing it in a professional pose manner, but you're not sat there on social media with a finger in your lip like this, holding one tip. You know what I mean? That's a different type of bikini shot, isn't it? So we all know the rights and wrongs of the professional and the non-professional. So and if you're liking something from a professional point of view, then yeah, that's absolutely fine in my.
It comes down to trust, doesn't it, and communication. And again, like those of you out there listening to this that are in the fitness industry, I'm sure there are a lot of fitness couples out there that must have had this conversation so many times, you know, and I think you do have to kind of, that's where you have to differentiate between the content that's being posted for business And you also need to know, who is that person that you're in a relationship with? Like, you know who that person is and why they're posting. And I think you know when someone's out there being naughty. Like, you know, yeah.
Being naughty.
You know, you're being naughty.
Everybody knows.
Everybody knows what you're doing. So I've got just something to read out from Sam. So Sam couldn't be with us tonight. So Sam is 37-year-old commando who was going to join us tonight, but unfortunately couldn't be with us. But he did have some thoughts on this topic and asked if I could just read them out. So Sam says, your reactions are okay if that's how someone's actions have made you feel. So I think he's talking about here, if you're not happy with something that your significant other has done, you're completely valid. You know, your feelings are valid, your emotions are valid. It's all about, you know, setting your boundaries out, like Codie said. If you're not comfortable with a partner's actions on social media, that is not your fault. If they make it out to be your fault for feeling that way and or do not or will not change how they behave on social media, they are simply prioritizing multiple things over your relationship. It's the ultimate social media red flag. It isn't necessarily their behavior, although some behavior is totally unacceptable, but it's that they are not willing to adjust or compromise to accommodate your relationship once they become aware it's negatively affecting you. Whew.
Wow.
After that one.
That was very well put, to be fair.
Yes, that was very well put. He just said, not really a quote to be fair, but it's basically me summing up how I will be moving forward after my last relationship. So I feel like some of us have been burnt when it comes to social media or just general lack of respect.
I think everyone in this podcast at some point has been touched alive by something or another, haven't they? I know I have.
Yeah. And sometimes it does come down to lack of communication as well. And I think we need to, like you say, you need to be clear about what you're happy with, what you're not happy with, and get it out there. And it's just about having, you know.
Can I mention one thing here? I'll tell you what social media does. It creates an illusion of a life that they don't actually have.
Yeah.
Because you can see them, you know, on a yacht, whatever, looking fantastic. And another one is where they go buy a sports car, whatever. I'm having dead good fun. Do you know what I mean? All that crap that they put on there, it's bollocks. Because they still come home, they still got to pay the bills, they're still ratty in the morning. You know what I mean? They're all human.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bullshit creates a false sense of this life's better, so people get involved because they might be having a shit life themselves. Grass ain't always greener.
Grass isn't always greener.
Oh, stick that word.
Grass is greenest where you water it. Is that the same?
Oh, that was good.
Yeah.
That was good.
Anyone else got anything to say on the topic of social media and relationships, or do we feel like we've got everything off our chest?
I think you could go down this rabbit hole for days and days.
Literally, like, take a breathing break now. We could take a coffee break and we could come back, couldn't we, for part 2?
Yeah, got to. I think everyone should show the DMs now.
So I'm just going to go to my inbox and just check all the aubergine emojis and flames.
Name and shame. Name and shame.
Can someone please send Ross one, because I feel tight on him. He's not had one yet.
Right, let's have a look. Rebecca sent you a voice message. Melissa mentioned you in a story. Samantha sent you a post. I mean, there's not a lot going on here, guys. You know, sorry to disappoint, but there's no juice at this end. Not today. Right, guys, I feel like we've touched on the subject. I do feel like we could probably go a little bit deeper, but it's really good food for thought, and it's really nice to connect with people and hear about your experiences. And also, I feel like we've brought some comfort to some lives tonight, and we've also perhaps brought a little bit of wisdom to help other people, maybe in relationships at the moment, but I think also people that are looking for love, Jonny, and what not to do and what to do when you find that special someone. Gosh, I feel like
we also might have broken some people up.
Say that again.
We also might have broke some people up.
Yeah.
I was just about to say this.
Yeah.
This is going to cause a shitstorm for a lot of people. What's in your DM? What have you been liking?
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of single people.
There's going to be some people tonight going, see, they agree that it's not okay. See, look what he said. That's what she said. Oh well, hopefully we'll make some people happier tonight and not cause too many breakups.
Well, the truth's the truth, isn't it?
The truth's the truth, and that is why we're here, and that is why it's called the Outspoken Podcast. So hopefully, guys, we will get you all back on here again at some point in the not too distant future. Thank you all for coming. Thank you, Ross, for coming and talking non-crickety. It's not really a word, is it? Non-cricket topics. Codie, thank you for coming on after a very busy day, and I know you were flying here from other places, and you as well, Jonny. I know that you were very quick to get your sweaty vest off and into your Johnny Bravo shirt. So thank you so much.
I've actually got no pants on. I'm being deadly serious. I'm just going to show you. I don't. I
was going to say, I don't doubt that at all. And the ratings just went up. So thank you very much, guys. I hope you all have a wonderful evening, and just watch out for the number of aubergines that you're sending in the DMs tonight. Yeah. Don't be.
Yeah, knock them down to about 7. It's a bit creepy after that.